How's the feeling in the club this week after a rough weekend?
Yeah, it was a rough weekend, but I suppose as we sit here, it's Wednesday, so we've moved on quite quickly from that. We reviewed the game Monday, and we've already started to look at Richmond, so it feels like we've moved on quite quickly, but it was a disappointing weekend. The boys are obviously going to feel a 100-point loss, but we think there's been some good signs from the first part of the year, and we took a step backwards on the weekend, but there's still some good energy and enthusiasm about what we can do this year.
Adam said at the weekend it's hard to train because of numbers at the moment. What can you do, given that circumstance, to try and improve on the weekend's effort ahead of Richmond?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because we are so low on the track. It's quite hard to get match play and that simulation, that game-like training. So we focus quite heavily on fundamentals and staying really fit. So the boys that we have got, they're doing their running, they're staying fit and fresh and getting our fundamentals right, because we feel that our skill as well, our contest around the footy is a big part of what's made us play some good footy for 85% of games. But when it drops away, teams have been able to get a run on, so we're going to have a focus on that going forward.
Is it hard to move on quite quickly from a loss like that? Like, surely there is a lot of reflecting to be done.
Yeah, there is, and I think a lot of it would be done individually too. Like, everyone feels, like I said, the brunt of a 100-point loss, and there's always something that you could have done more or you should have done different. So I think individually you really sink it in probably, and then I think the club's done a really good job, or the footy staff downstairs of moving on quite quick. But we've got to learn from that. It's not acceptable to dish up 100-point losses, but they've got our back down there. And like I said, we've played some pretty good footy, albeit it hasn't been for 4 quarters yet this year. We're quite happy with some of the signs that we've seen.
There's a wave of criticism, though, coming for the club, and I suppose that's understandable to a certain extent given the recent record. How does the players let it not affect them, I suppose, inside the 4 walls?
Yeah, that's I suppose the plain and simple is that there's a bit of weight coming our way, and we haven't won many games of our last 18 months, so that is understandable. But I suppose within here we keep driving our confidence that the realistic situation is we've got a lot of injuries at the moment, so our back's against the wall a little bit, and we've lost some really great players for this footy club, and they won't be around for weeks to come. So what we've got now is what we've got to get better with, and that's the focus downstairs, is just moving on with what we've got and making sure we get better results than what we did on the weekend.
There's about a dozen guys out of contract at the club too. Is there a feeling amongst some of them or amongst the group that some guys are playing for their careers, given that this list is in transition?
I didn't realise there was so many blokes out of contract, but I think that's every year really. Like there's going to be boys out of contract coming into every year, and whether we're winning or we're not, it's boys are always in that situation. But I don't think there's any added pressure on those boys to play any better than what they have to. There's obviously a young group at the moment, so they're learning under the pump, which is really tough. I reflect on my time when I got to the club. We made it to a grand final that year. I was able to learn amongst a lot of senior players. The majority of the players I was playing with were senior players, 100 games more. So they're learning together at the moment as a young group, and that's a challenge for some of us senior blokes as well to help out in that area. So I don't think there's any added pressure from a contract point of view. It's more about week to week, and we're seeing some really good glimpses, like I keep harping on about. But again, the consistency is an issue for us, and we need to rectify that.
So you've been part of this club with a lot of the highs and now some of the lows. What do you say to the younger boys?
Well, it's interesting because the lows are only happening now, and so I've been lucky to be at a successful club for so long. So we're riding this for the first time all together, but we lean on those blokes that are older than me as well. Shannon Hearn, Gaff, Darling, Cripps. There's still plenty around that have been through the cycle before as well. So there's positivity in that. The club's done it before. We've bounced back quite quickly, and like I mentioned, the injuries aren't helping at the moment. So that's the situation that we find ourselves in. But chasing those little wins is what we've been after for the last 18 months, and we still think we can win games of footy when we're coming into them. So that's what we're chasing. But it's got to be 4 quarters to get a win in this competition at the moment.
With blokes like Luke Shuey and Jeremy McGovern, on the sidelines at the moment, do you sort of take it upon yourself to get around the younger boys and sort of make sure they're dealing with it okay, with all the injuries and so forth? Yeah,
I think so. It comes down to learning really. Like it's such an interesting time in that sense, because like I said, we've got these boys learning all together. So we don't have the senior players out there, but we're sort of implementing the game style over the last 18 months that we've been trying to get out there, and and we haven't done it with probably our best side yet, but it's great to be able to learn with those young blokes and keep teaching, and it's helping us to I suppose understand what we're going after as well, because I think we've started to see the change definitely this year, which has been really good. But yeah, there's no extra, we don't need to show any extra leadership or anything like that, because it's quite easy as we're all learning. We jump in together, so there's no added sort of extra with that stuff.
The last time you played, or one of the times last year that played Richmond, was another 100-point loss. Is there any discussion about that, or looking at Richmond this year, it seems like they're in a pretty difficult stage as well?
Yeah, no, there hasn't been a lot of chatter around that. Some of us do remember it, obviously, but yeah, I suppose Richmond probably aren't where they want to be either. But one thing we have, I suppose, recognised with Richmond is they've been in a lot of the games that they've played in, so they haven't been too far off. But it's a great opportunity for us to go away and, I suppose, another team that's struggling a little bit with an injury list as well, and had a tough start to the season. So it's a big challenge for us to go over. We'll have a fairly unchanged lineup. We're going across with a similar team, so it'll be it'll be a big hit out for us. But I don't think there'll be too much reflection on last year.
Are there key players that you sort of, focusing on? Like you said, they probably haven't really hit their straps, but there always seems to be a player that sort of ignites for Richmond, whether it be Bolton or Martin. Has there been any discussion as to those kind of players and marking them out? Yeah,
definitely. There's, I suppose, you look across their list or the team that they'll put up, and it's got stars and premiership players right across. So, there's certainly some players that we'll look into a little more closely. But you mentioned two of them there, quality players, have been for a long time, and they can really get Richmond going. So we'll focus on what we can do mainly, but there's definitely those players each week that you need to sort of nullify a little bit more than others.
Yesterday the club announced their backing for the Voice in Parliament. Can you just explain a bit about that and what the playing group, if that had any influence on that as well?
Yeah, it's really proud of the club to take that position, and obviously come out and support to vote yes for the referendum, the Voice to Parliament. So the club's not forcing it down anyone's throat. It's not you must vote yes, but it's a great platform for us to stand strong and get behind it, and we encourage people to go and do their own research and make an informed decision. So not ramming it down anyone's throat, but I'm behind it and the club's behind it, so really proud of the decision to come forward with it.
How's Dom Sheed been going on the track this week? Is he sort of pushing his claim for a return this weekend?
Yeah, he's been pushing it for probably 3 weeks. It's obviously such a sensitive area, so he needs to weigh up the risk there, but I suppose when you have something like that, you're still training, you're doing the Ks, you feel ready to go, but he's obviously been held back a little bit because of where the injury was. So I think we're backing him into play this week, though. I think he should be right, so it's exciting to get Sheeda back.